this computer. Okay, perfect. Now it's on to speaker view. Yes, perfect. So, yeah, if you can click on whatever button Zoom asks you to click, we're gonna again practice with a 20 minutes meditation, and then we'll go into our talk. So if you like to find a comfortable position, something that's relaxed, alert, as many of you already did, if you want to keep your camera off, that's okay. You can do that or keep it on, whatever makes you feel safe and comfortable. Also, if you want to close your eyes, you can do that, or you can simply lower the gaze. I'm going to ring the bell one time to sign the beginning of practice, and 3 times at the end. If you like, you can use the sound of the bell to bring you to this moment, to the present moment. You may want to start by taking a couple of deeper breaths. Taking a deeper inhale through the nose. And a deeper exhale through the nose as well. And with your next inhale, invite the body to soften. Drop down the shoulders. Softening the jaw. With the exhale, releasing any tension that you are aware is present at this moment. And you're just really bringing all of your attention to this moment, to the body, your body being here. Take a moment to also orient yourself in the space you're in. And you can do that by noticing sounds around you. You can notice smells, the temperature of the space you're in. Using the senses to bring you into this moment. Coming back to noticing sensations in the body. Bringing awareness to the different points of contact of the body with the chair, the cushion, the sofa. whatever object you are sitting or laying down on. And notice sensations in the back. Sensations in the sit bones area. In the legs. Feel the contact of the feet with the ground. And for the next few moments, just resting in the awareness of being here. Nowhere to go, nothing to do, just simply being here. With a sense of curiosity, noticing what is it like to be alive in this body. With a kind of attention, noticing what's present in this moment. And to the best of your abilities, not wishing that this moment is any different than what it is. And as you are here witnessing this experience, see if you can feel the breath in the body. And with curiosity, noticing the breath, feeling the breath, really drop it into the experience of the felt sense and noticing what the breath feels like, not thinking about it, but really feeling it. Maybe noticing the different characteristics of the breath. If it's deep or shallow. Is it smooth or choppy? Always doing this with a kind attitude. Very naturally, the mind will wander. And whenever that happens, you can just simply bring awareness to that. Bringing awareness to the mind wandering away. And when you notice that happening, very gently and kindly, return the attention back to the anchor, in this case, the breath. And just keep bringing awareness to the breath in the body, noticing how the air comes into the nostrils, noticing where it goes to the chest, maybe all the way to the belly area. And what happens in the exhale? And perhaps the attention is a little bit more settled by now. And I'd like to invite you now to expand your attention now to the whole entire body and bringing awareness to the different sensations that are present in the body. And feeling the whole entire body from head to toes. Taking a moment to recognize what's present in the physical body. Can you notice sensations that are either pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral? And so just recognizing that and allowing it, whatever's present in the body, letting it be here. And including your awareness, the mind. Notice what's present in the mind. What's the overall state of the mind? Is there a lot of activity in the mind? Is it quiet? And just to recognize it, allowing it to be here and also to the best of your abilities. Not wishing that it's any different than what it is, just letting thoughts come, arise, and pass by. Now including your awareness also emotions, the heart space. Notice what's present in the heart, what emotions are present. So taking a moment to recognize what's here. If we can, allowing them to be here exactly as they are. Maybe you might notice that you will naturally want to resist. You will notice aversion being present, resistance, judgment, perhaps. But whenever you notice that, just bring awareness to that being here and see if you can judge the judgment, not resist the resistance. So opening up your awareness to all that is present right here. Sensations, thoughts, emotions. And see if you can allow all the different parts of you that are here present in this moment to let them be here with an attitude of kindness, with a friendly attitude. And remember that we're always doing these one moment at a time, bringing awareness to the moment to moment experience. We're cultivating an attitude of friendliness towards the different parts of ourselves, even those that are undesirable, that we wish they were different. See if you can allow that to be exactly as it is, and holding it with a loving attitude, with a loving awareness. Remembering that it is all welcome in this space. All the different parts of you are welcome here. We are holding space for it in the best way we can in this moment. So just really being present with all of it. Noticing how it keeps changing the moment. How each experience is impermanent. Something arises and passes by. And the next moment arises and passes by. It's all happening very quickly. We're here holding space. See if you can notice what changed from beginning of practice to now. And just bringing awareness, noticing if anything changed. And as we get close to the end of the practice, I would like to end by inviting you to bring awareness to gratitude. Some people experience gratitude in the heart space, but whatever that's felt for you, just bring awareness to that. And I invite you to find something that you can be grateful for in this moment. Perhaps a part of the body, a person, an event, an object, a pet. And notice how gratitude is felt in the body. I invite you also to find gratitude for yourself for having made the time to be here and to be with you in this way. You could have been doing something completely different, but you chose to be here, to show up for yourself, to be with you in this way. Maybe with myself in this way feels like an act of radical love and radical acceptance, like the beginning of it. Each moment I do this, feels like I get closer to accepting the different parts of myself, to loving the different parts of myself. Maybe that resonates with you as well. So when I ring the bell, I invite you to see if you can make the rest of your day your practice, a continuation of your practice. So the practice doesn't stop here. Continues on the different things that you're doing by bringing awareness, a curious mind, a kind attitude, a non-judgmental attitude to the moment. Whenever you're ready, if you like to come back to the screen, maybe taking another deep inhale and deep exhale and moving the body whichever way needs to be moved. Thank you all for practicing, for being again here together. Welcome to those of you that join us midway through the seat. It's great to have you here. And yeah, we're still the H.O.P.E group, healing ourselves through the present experience. It's always so nice to be here, to be in community and to practice, which is something so intimate that we now know that we can even have this intimacy even through the screen. It's something that we didn't think, or I didn't think it was possible before COVID happened, and then it happened, and then we got Zoom and everything went online, and now it's like I feel so much closeness even through the screen, honestly. So I thank you all for being here. And so I'm gonna be sharing some thoughts today on how we can meet and hold our suffering with friendliness. And I'm just gonna speak for, hopefully, I love talking, but I hope to talk. I hope I can only talk for about 15 minutes or so, and then we can go into community time. But yeah, so I was thinking when Brian told me he wasn't going to be here and I was going to host the space and present on something, I was like, I always like to present on things that are present in my life. And as someone who's been practicing for a long time, a little bit over 10 years, and now, having the opportunity to share with others, I always think, what's present in my practice that can be of benefit to others. And I was just thinking how, meeting and holding the suffering with friendliness is something that my own suffering has been very present in my life recently, and how the practice of mindfulness, some self-compassion practices, how can they, together allow me to meet my suffering. And, in the practice of mindfulness, you might have noticed that I invite us to meet what's present, right? And sometimes what we're meeting is suffering, deep suffering, whatever thoughts, emotions are present for you, sensations, pain could be present for you. And so the practice of mindfulness, the moment to moment experience, bringing awareness to the moment to moment experience, allows us meet this moment, to really see it and be with it, right? And so the practice of mindfulness, it's such a easy practice, beautiful practice. No, it's a simple practice, but it's not easy. So it's very simple for me to just tell you, hey, notice, the moment to moment experience with kindness, with curiosity. Don't judge it. Something so simple, but it's not very easy, especially because a lot of our minds are very active. They're always commenting on what's happening. And so we use the practice of mindfulness, right, to meet our suffering, to hold our suffering. Earlier in our check-ins, we were sharing how, maybe sometimes we feel like adults, like a 5-year-old in an adult body, right? And so did what do we wish how do we wish the 5-year-old was H.O.P.E, with what kind of attitude and like a quality of presence. How would I like to be held by others? Not just physically, but in terms of like when I come to someone and talk to them, how would I like for them to be present with me? Maybe a lot of the times could be just be present, just offering a listening ear, just really letting someone be there for you, to be really present for you. And so the practice of mindfulness allows us to do that, and to do that for ourselves, for the different parts of ourselves that, 5-year-old Mariela, 10-year-old Mariela, 15-year-old Mariela. And because different parts of ourselves come up, might have experienced suffering. And they can come up throughout our day, throughout our, the year. Not because I am Mariela of a certain age, that doesn't mean the different Mariela of 12 years old, it's not present at times, And so, and what's suffering? Suffering is very individual for each of us. The deep suffering that we're experiencing, different things create suffering. And we, in Buddhism, we talk also often about, not often, all the time, but it's kind of like implicit. We don't always say it or are talking about it all the time in terms of like, hey, what creates our suffering is the identity with the self, right? And so the way to experience freedom from our suffering, it's to realize that the self, whenever the self is involved, we experience more suffering. Recently, I was teaching at another training or at a training, and we were talking about emptiness and non-self. And for me, I think it had taken me all these many years until that presentation to kind of understand, what non-self was, what emptiness was, empty of the self. Because for so long, I don't think I could understand. And so there was another teacher who came and shared with us about universal reality and personal reality. And so the universal reality is the place in which we are just pure awareness, right? And then, but we are in these human bodies, and so we experience pain. I cannot just all of a sudden pretend that, hey, I am not this thing, and if I am a mom, I'm not a mom. But if I were to be a mom, I'm not gonna tell my children, I'm not gonna feed them or leave them alone because, oh, there is no self. So we gotta take care of these personal realities. And so in this personal reality, it's where things show up, or pain or suffering, right? And it's very real to us. At times we're able to be with it more, we are able just to be with it. Sometimes it's so hard. We're not able to be with it, at least not in the way we wish we can, or we wish we could, which will be, with more compassion, with more understanding. And so how do we use the practice of mindfulness and compassion? I'll speak a little bit on different practices, around self-compassion that can, combined with mindfulness, allows us to meet our suffering, to hold our suffering with an attitude of friendliness. And what's friendliness, right? Is how would you be present with a friend? How would you, what kind of attitudes, do you bring to, if somebody were to come to you and, express their deep feelings, how would you hold space for them? Hopefully in a way that it's, open, non-judgmental, that is kind, to just letting them express themselves, not making them feel like there's something wrong with them, right? And so, how can we do the same thing for ourselves? And so, when we're practicing mindfulness, we are bringing, you might have heard me throughout meditation, I said, you know, recognizing what's here is probably the first step, to actually acknowledge what's here, to really acknowledge what's here, and to allow it to be here. And allow it, perhaps, another word for it is acceptance. But maybe the word acceptance, and it's not like a passive acceptance, like, oh, life is going to be this way forever. But acceptance and allowance, more of like, this moment is like this right now, right? And how can I open up my mind and my heart to be present with this moment? And so there's different earlier in our check-ins too, where we're talking about or someone mentioned the course Mindful Self-Compassion. By the way, if you haven't heard of it or want to hear more about it, feel free to reach out. Honestly, it is a beautiful course. I found it so healing for myself when I took it. And it's about, mindfulness and compassion and self-compassion, basically. And how can we, yes, offer that compassion that we already have to direct it towards ourselves. And for me, it has really helped me, again, meet and hold my suffering with an attitude of friendliness. And by friendliness, that just means, like I said earlier, an attitude of kind, receptive, loving, not judging what I'm saying. And so that's what I mean by friendliness in this moment. Um, so there is different practices in this course, Mindful Self-Compassion. Again, if you haven't taken, honestly, it's a brilliant course by developed by two psychotherapists, I believe, Kristen Neff and uh, Chris Garmer. I think they're both psychotherapists or psychologists. Um, and so in this course, they talk about different practices that we can, bring self-compassion for ourselves. But right now, I want to talk about one specific one, which is the soothing touch. And so maybe I'm going to walk us through a short exercise in which we find a touch that, thank you, Naomi, yes, self-compassion.org. I'm going to walk us through a short exercise in which we find a touch that is soothing for the body. Honestly, I started doing that naturally, like instinctively. My body started doing, putting my hand in my chest. This is that's usually where I find comfort and sort of like holding my suffering more. And so, and I started doing it naturally. I started doing that, and I started hugging myself as a way of like holding myself, and whatever was going on, it felt like I was being held. And so I want to walk us through a short exercise again in which we explore different touches that, and we hopefully find one that is soothing for ourselves. That when we put our hand in that part of our body, feels soothing. And I am aware that sometimes, touch in the body could be very sensitive if there is trauma, and there have been trauma in the body. And so I invite you to do this very kindly, this exercise that I'm going to walk us into, and only do it if you're feeling comfortable. If you're not feeling right, feel free to disengage from the exercise. Maybe different touches in different parts of the body, they're mostly in the upper part of the body, will they might be activating. So if that happens for you, I invite you to, disengage from it. But if you can follow, you might find one that find that feels soothing for you. And so why am I sharing this? It's because for myself, the way I meet and hold my suffering, that's kind of what I wanted to share with you today, or I've been sharing with you today. It's how can we find resources within ourselves to meet our suffering, to hold our suffering, to be present with it, with that attitude of friendliness, with that attitude that something that we wish was done for us, but how can we do that for ourselves? Sometimes maybe if friendliness means I want a hug from someone, how can we perhaps, offer something similar for ourselves? So if you're open to it, whatever you are, just let yourself be guided by the words I'm saying, and you don't have to close your eyes. You can, look at the screen to kind of direct yourself into where the different touches are. But really, when I am inviting you to, to put your hand in those different parts of your body, more than anything, I invite you to notice how the touch feels. So really be connected and see if it's, maybe there's no reaction to it, and that's okay. But see if maybe, hopefully, you find one touch that feels soothing, that feels supportive, like I am supporting myself through that touch, okay? And so I'm gonna move my camera a little farther so you can see me more. So yeah, if you want to close your eyes for a moment, or just simply lower the gaze and take a couple of deep breaths. And so just once again, bringing all of your awareness to this moment. And so we're gonna start with putting one hand in the chest area. And notice how that feels for you. Just gently touching the chest. And see if you press it a little bit. How does that feel? Remember, we're just noticing how it feels. And finding if it feels soothing and supportive. Now put your other hand in your chest too, kind of like holding your other hand. So both hands in your chest, gently touching. And maybe also experimenting with putting a little bit of pressure. And see how that feels. And I put one of your hands in your belly. So one in your chest and one in your belly. And notice how that feels. Does it feel supported? If you put a little bit of pressure. Remember, we're just exploring. Now put both of your hands in your belly. So both hands in your belly area. And see how that feels. And put in a little bit of pressure. Now moving your hands of your belly and just holding one of your hands. One hand is holding the other hand. And notice if that feels supportive. That's soothing. Maybe you want to stroke gently, stroking the hand. Doing whatever movement naturally your hand does. Notice if that feels supportive. How does that touch feel? Maybe you're holding just one finger, kind of like babies do. Tightly holding a finger of an adult. And so now taking one hand and rubbing your arm, kind of like gentle strokes on the shoulder area, on the arm. And see how that feels. Now maybe do the other arm. It might feel different. Whether that's moving it around, gentle strokes, or just leaving it in one place. Now putting one hand on the cheek. See if you're resting on that cheek. And putting it on one side. See how that feels. And gently experiment on the other side. Now you can do both and see how that feels. Remember, we're looking for something that feels soothing, supportive. That when you do that, it's almost like the body calms down. And so now, putting both of your arms around your arms and your shoulders, sort of like giving yourself a hug. And maybe again, gentle strokes or just tightly or gently holding yourself. And see how that feels. If you need to put a little bit of pressure. Maybe experiment with rocking from side to side. Kind of like rocking a baby. How does that feel? So for the next few moments, I invite you to place your hand, if you were able to find a soothing touch, whatever it was, whichever different part of the body felt more comfortable and soothing. For the next few moments, just place your hand wherever that felt comfortable and just be here, breathing, meeting this moment. The support of mindfulness and the soothing touch, holding this moment. By holding, I mean letting it be exactly as it is. Being in awareness of this moment. So I'll be silent for a few moments and I invite you to notice if the body feels supportive and maybe even the breath might slow down. As you are present here, just offering support to yourself through that soothing touch. And taking one deep inhale and opening the eyes. I hope you were able to maybe find a touch that felt soothing, supportive at different times. My different touches might feel supportive. I notice myself right now, I'm holding my hands and I usually am holding my thumb. For some reason that feels supportive. And so sometimes I do that. Sometimes when I'm feeling a lot of distress, I honestly hold myself very tightly as if somebody's hugging me, somebody's offering like support as a way of saying, I am here for myself, here for you, so I'm here for myself. And what's interesting is that the body doesn't recognize touching. I don't know the specific science of it, but touching is very, there is something about touch that is very healing to the body. And the body doesn't recognize that when it's our own touch. So if you offer this to yourself as of kind of like, somebody's patting you in the back or like you do a good job or, softly moving the, gently stroking the arm as somebody else would do with like a dear one or a loved one or a significant other, the body doesn't recognize that it's not another person. They just feel the touch in a way that is supportive. And so I noticed that for myself, along with, you know, being able to be present with the moment to moment experience, with curiosity, with kind mind, with a kind attention, which is more a type of attitude that we bring to the practice, and a non-judgmental attitude, they really allow me to, yes, to be more present, to meet this moment. It also allows me to hold space. But sometimes, honestly, supportive touch, along with my practice of mindfulness, feels like the perfect combination that allows me more easily to hold my suffering in a way that it feels friendly, feels yeah, it feels like it's almost like sometimes when I do that, I notice that even a smile comes up. How do we feel if we're being heard by another person, who we want to be heard by? Maybe a gentle smile also, when you're practicing, when you are offering a soothing touch or meeting this moment, maybe a gentle mental smile or actually a smile, it might make a difference to just meet this moment. with more softness. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. I did not talk for 15 minutes, by the way. I talk apparently for 30, as it's 11:15. And so I am gonna turn off the recording so we can have some time, to share what came out for ourselves and anything that you feel called to share. So